days where we are taken to a higher realm, so no one wants to hear that gods excel. Ring the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the days where we are taken to a higher realm, so no one wants to hear all that gods excel. Ring the bell of our ancestors where it's felt.
Raubat, greetings, Raubat, Musar, greetings, bienvenido, Warhab, Maboika, welcome once again. Yeah, I'm sitting back over here. Um, just finished getting into class. Earlier I started practicing and rehearsing, and now we're in the summit. You know what I'm saying? I get together every Monday, and I like to invite a few of you that's able to make it, but it's like an hour time, Eastern time, because it's being zoomed in Africa, from Africa, right? From the Congo, from South Africa. But here the time difference, so it's about 12 noon when it's evening over there, 12 noon for us over here on this side. If you're able to you know, participate, just check it out. You know, the summit, it's a summit that happens every Monday. And then the class is every Tuesday, every Wednesday. But the summit is every Monday, and it's a parliament. And so there's a lot of agendas and initiatives being rolled out, and and training again, because we're learning again how to conduct ourselves and how to operate within a government. You know what I'm saying? Within nation, between cities and state. Look out for me later on. I think after 7 o'clock. I don't know if it will happen, but around 7 o'clock, I'm going to be with Aminuma's channel, Muspat, uh, Aminuma's channel, Muspati, I think his channel, and I'll put the link. And we're going to speak about the difference between a kingdom, federation, civilization, community, dynasty, state, and empires. And we're going to break that down, you know what I'm saying, to you. You know what I'm saying? So I have now, that's the reason why I want to come on here real briefly and speak about the experiences that we have. Now, so we live in a United States of America, right? United States is a bunch of states that united and entered into a one government, which is the government, the rules and regulation of a particular government. And that government is run by a corporation. You know what I'm saying? When you look real deep into it, right? A lot of governments are run like that. They're corporations. And a lot of these corporations have president, secretary, secretary of state, secretary, treasurer. You know, you see this same structure, right? Same thing with a kingdom. You see this structure happening, and this structure is also taught in Masonic teachings, because you're conducting yourself in a lodge. You have the worshipful master, which is considered to be the president at the time, right? Or the higher Hierophant, the supreme grand master, right? Hierophant. That's your president of the body of, and you're governed by certain, again, morals and codes and rules and regulations. So in the African Kingdom Federation, you know what I'm saying, and later on we'll speak about what determines what is a federation. And the federation built civilization. So that's what's happening in Africa right now. Is so you have a lot of countries, a lot of states, a lot of kingdom and chiefdoms, kingdoms and queendoms getting together in Africa, getting and forming a new civilization that have every right to form a civilization. And we can impact that and speak more further into that. But that's that whole, you know, that's again dealing not with politics. There's politics that comes into it, you know what I'm saying? But it's more on a lineage a civilization, a way of performing certain things. And it deals a lot with spirituality, it deals a lot with politics. Now, when you look at an ancient Kemet and you see the star, right? The Sumerians took that star and represented what they call the 5 points. So you see this a lot in a lot of civilizations and a lot of state, the 5 point. 5 point, what that represents, 5 principles. What are those 5 principles that are mentioned that you will find in the laws of Hammurabi, right? These 5 principles, again, and I spoke about this before, but this is when it comes to dealing with nations and dealing with civilization and symbology, you know what I'm saying, and star. So you have what they call psychology. Psychology, psych, the mind, is study of the mind and the mental, right? You have to, in order to govern the mentality of your people, you have to know their psychology. How do they think? How do they think? So this is very important. Then, of course, you have philosophy. Okay, philosophy is spelled with a P. So these are the 5 points, the 5 principles in P's. So first, when we spoke about psychology, right? Phonetically, it sounds like an S, but it's psychology spelled with a P. And so that is, again, the study of the mind. Then you have philosophy. Philosophy is also a study of the study of conversations, right? Of rules of doctrine that by way of conversation became documented. Doctrine that became documented by way of conversations, right? So you have to have this. And in the African states, we have what they call oral traditions, which are based on conversation passed down lineage-wise or craft-wise through certain industries. There's certain conversations, oral traditions that are passed down. That's the philosophy of a particular state and nation. In the United States of America, there's a philosophy that exists in the United States of America. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go into that right now, but there's a philosophy. There's a psychology also, the psychology of and the freedom and the liberty, the way the mind thinks. It's very important. So then we have what we call polytheism. And polytheism, theos, or theories, many types of deities or many types of theology that needs to also be implemented, you know what I'm saying, and discussed. Now you have monotheism, you have polytheism, you have, you know what I'm saying, different type of theism called the isms, okay? But that has to be studied and that has to be also implemented when you deal with a civilization, you deal with a nation, you deal with a state. So you have psychology, you have philosophy, and you have polytheism, right? Then you have, again, politics. At the core of it is politics. And politics, well, some say tricks. Poly is, again, different psychology, philosophy, right? Polytheism, right? Many of those structuring themselves to put themselves in a position to run the one central government, the government. So you have the Democrats and you have the Republicans, Christians, Jews, Muslims. You have many different types of parties, what they call parties. And then guess what? They do have parties. They be lit, you know. So you have the Democratic Party and you have the Republican Party, you have the Independent Party, you have the Green Party, the Tea Party, many different parties, okay? And when you see this, when you go out to vote, you see all these different agendas and all these different parties coming to the surface, thinking that they have a chance of running the government. You know what I'm saying? So there you have 4 points: psychology, philosophy, polytheism, politics. And then now you got the penal, like the penal codes, the penal system. That's the other P, penal, P. And that one deals with both reward and punishment, to be honest with you. That one deals with laws, statutes, and policies that are put forth by the penal system. You need that when running a state or running a government. That's the 5-pointed star. Now you have separate states that run under the 6-pointed star, some with a 7-pointed star, but that we can't go into that right now. I'm just dealing with the 5-pointed star, which goes all the way into the Nile Valley. All the way into the Nile Valley. Because that Nile Valley was what a place, the cradle of one of the first civilizations that came out of the Ma Federation. You see? A federation is different than a civilization. We have to take that into account. And we're going to go impact that with Amenuma about federation, the difference between a federation and a civilization. You know what I'm saying? Federation forms civilization, but civilization don't form federation. Civilization is just a civilization, right? But then the federation are a bunch of states that come together to form a government, right? And then that forms a civilization. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about an ancient civilization, right? Now, fast forward today, in the summit today, it was speaking about this civilization, a huge university, because in every state, in every city and state, there's always a church and a university in the center of it. A church and a university. Hold on one second. So you have a church which also forms a university. All universities, when you look at the area of the university, there's always a church involved with it. You know, churches go in it because churches also at one time was a meeting ground, right? Was the meeting ground to them to practice all those 5 points at the church. Those morals and codes of the penal system came out of the church. Those like psychology, the philosophy, right? The politics, you know, and also the penal was dealing with codes, and also the polity, the theism, the particular school of thought that they are practicing. I'm saying all of that is being implemented. All of that is at the center of every city and state and every country. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at the Federation, the African Kingdom Federation and the Parliament and the Queen of Sheba, I'm going to discuss that, but I won't go into it real deeply into it now. Peace and blessing to you, Rebe. And so we're dealing again. Hold on. I got a brother calling me. Hold on one second. Yeah, sorry, but that's my good brother Hansu calling me. So from Philadelphia. And so the this system of moving a state, this system of building a parliament, of building a civilization, you want to bring many different states and many country together under one. So the queendom, all right, the African Kingdom Federation is consisting of 55 African countries. 55 African countries coming together and forming this union, African Union. And this African Union has its representative also at the United Nations level. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what the summit was about. And we spoke about a university. Now, this is what I got to say. I did not mention this, but now we have I'm talking about we in terms of Sabaeans and Wapians and Ansars have the experience of forming a university, the experience of forming a community to form a university, a central government, a central idea and concept. You know what I'm saying? Essential under the guise of Islam. You know what I'm saying? Or Nuwapu, but under the guise of Islam. So we have that experience. And even to the point where brothers went down to the land and built pyramids. This is a project that the African Union is now getting involved in. They want to build themselves in a university with a big pyramid and that university setting. The design is spectacular, the design. Well, you see, we have the experience already of doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's very important. I want to invite some Sabians, the Wapians brothers, but we went on. You know what I'm saying? We're dealing with certain issues right now. The most important thing is the Panaba Yanan and the master teacher being incarcerated and getting him out, his freedom. You know what I'm saying? That's the most important thing on our mind. As far as nation building, as far as contributing to a civilization that's being formed, we definitely need a master teacher. Definitely need a master teacher. You know what I'm saying? He showed us the way. He showed us the way of how to actually conduct ourselves and actually form this. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, that was the discussion today. Great things is being done in Africa. A lot in terms of agriculture, and we already spoke how important is agriculture. And we reiterated that in the summit. Also, this idea of university, very, very, very important. Let me see if I can bring something up here. See if I can do it here. Let me see what is this. Yeah, I don't want to. Well, just to give you just to give you a short synopsis of what was discussed, I'm going to share my screen, and I screenshot this, but I'm going to share my screen because it's not, this is the plan. You know what I'm saying? I better yet, I better not. I better not right now. Hold on a second. Yeah. So this is structuring. So what was spoken today is about structuring this university. I'm gonna bring it up just to give you a little synopsis and things, and you can check it out. You know what I'm saying? Let me see if I can bring this up. And if you look at that, the kingdom of Egypt, faculty of arts and living culture, the kingdom of Solomon. All right. So this is certain areas. So now you look at this, right? The square also looks like a pyramid. If you look at it in the different dimensions, you know what I'm saying? So this is the university and the way it's being set up. Now we have experience with this because as you see in Eaton, Georgia, with Wahani, Eaton, Georgia with Tamare, you know what I'm saying? There's a system, a structure that was being developed there. But now this is being developed in Africa. And then the prototypes are going to be all over the world. I mean, but this is in Africa. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at it on the right hand side, you got the Nubia Kush Empire Royal Faculty of Social Studies. You got the King of Solomon Faculty of Theology and Philosophy, the Kingdom of Egypt Faculty of Arts, the Kingdom of Egypt Otamare, the Queen of Sheba Crown Library, Secure Control Environment Archive, other areas, the Emperor Mansa Musa Faculty of Business and Commerce, the Queen of Sheba Facility of Future World Design, Engineering, and Advanced Environmental Technologies. Now you have the Emperor Sheba III Faculty of Media and Communication. You got the Crown of Isis and Osiris Faculty of Alternative Medicine and Treatment. I will put Inhotep there because that's the father of that. But anyway, this is planned. You know what I'm saying? That's just to give you a little bit of synopsis of what's going on in terms of restructuring and rebuilding again a civilization. And how this involves us here in America, because again, that's the reason why the studies I've been doing and us as Sabian and Nuwapians, Ansars, we know this. You know what I'm saying? We have been hinted, and now we're doing further studies, further studies. Master teacher says you guys gonna have to further the study. So the area in that I've been studying, see, I'm a polypath, so I study many different areas. But I'm normally a musician. I practice every day. I do music, and I stay up on my reading ability in terms of music, and stay up on my music. You know what I'm saying? With my keyboard next to me, just stay up on my music. Another thing that I stay up is again is our history, our documented story. Let me do that. Our documented story, and looking further, because we have to restructure now the narrative. We have to restructure because the more information and information is being revealed in this time, again through the fourth industrial revolution, through the internet of things. Things are being revealed. People are digitizing their work and putting it out there. It's easy access. People have access to it. So one of the areas that I've been looking into, again, to try, not to try, but bring the unity amongst all indigenous people on this part of the planet, was the Western Hemisphere. And then later on, we're going to stretch it out to Europe, my Italian brothers and sisters also, and my Iberia Peninsula. You know what I'm saying? The northern part of Africa and that area. You know what I'm saying? But right now, here in the Western Hemisphere, you had an influx, again, of different dynasties coming here. Because when you deal with an empire, like Mali Empire, right? When I'm finding out an empire consists of many dynasties and federations and states. An empire rules all that. You know what I'm saying? That's what's considered an empire. You know what I'm saying? Where you bring different states, countries, states, and dynasties together under one rule, right? And so the consensus is that there was 2,000 ships. Now, the Mali government itself didn't make those 2,000. Those two, they had different dynasties who contribute to this event, or this event, this project of taking 2,000 ships and going over the impassing sea, because they already knew that there was land on the other side. They already knew that. Africans have been traveling back and forth, man, since aeons. And there's proof of that. You see, that's when I look deep into the proof. I'm finding out, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is not, but it's coming out now. Little by little, it's coming out. You know what I'm saying? About who were the Olmecs and how they travel and the different areas they travel from, also from the Antarctica and traveling over. So we can impact this. And yes, our master teacher did hint on a lot of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We just got to go further and dig deep. So when you look at an empire, you're looking at an empire that's setting up a civilization, right? An empire, right? That consists of different states. So you had the Idris dynasty had a couple of ships. You had the Sabiq, the Nubian Kush dynasty coming out, having a couple of ships. You had the Bambara tribes. You had the Wolof tribe. You have Nigerian. You have many different tribes that were into seafaring, that understood this, and that was part of the project. So you got 2,000 ships of different dynasties on this ship. This is what I'm finding out. And so when they come over to this side, landing in Brazil, mixing in with Mesoamericans, or Mesoamerica, which is your Inca, Aztecs, Tupi in Brazil. In the Yucatan will be the Inca, the Actes, the Toltecs, mixing in with already tribes that already trace their lineages back to the Olmecs. And that's another conversation dealing with the Olmecs. But already having this connection. And then when you have 2,000 ships coming over and going into the Caribbean, Brazil, Caribbean, the Yucatan, into North America, now you have a different dynasty coming in, different ships coming in and staying here. Some travel back and forth for trade, but then some families moved and stood here and made their life here and became amalgamated through other tribes and call themselves Yamasi. Yam is from Africa. The Yama, Yamasi, and call themselves names like that. Chickasaw, Choctaw, Chickasaw. They call themselves Creek because they were on the creeks in the inhabitants. So you have a mixture of this different dynasties coming here and staying here. And this is what I'm seeing when I go further and further, look into the Moorish science paradigm, look into the Nation of Islam, look into the Native Americans. You're seeing this at play. This is something they don't want to speak about, right? And then, of course, they bringing over the slaves. There were only 300,000 that came over to the Americas, but there was millions of Africans here already. But they tied into the vine, you see? They tied into the vine. It's a very strategic operation that went on in them times. The Europeans, a very strategic operation that they performed, okay? Because again, not all Europeans, you just had anti-sociable people taking over the industry, shipping industries, and starting to create these different conditions that were not good for a section of humanity, which was our brothers, our African brothers and sisters from Nigeria and the Congo area, especially from Nigeria and Ghana, taking these tribes that later on that already knew that they had lineage already here on this side, already know it. There was already an African presence in this side way before Christopher Columbus and way before the slave, this transatlantic slave trade, way before there was. And this is what we're finding out. This is what's been discussed in the 1920s in Harvard University, Yale University, all these Ivy League schools, they study this stuff, but we don't know. That's how I always say they know who we are, but we don't know who we are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just speaking about this Western Hemisphere, this area. I touched upon Europa, you know what I'm saying? I touched upon that and the Blackamoors and our lineage traveling into those areas, right? After they became Arabized, right? In the 600s, 700s, the 600s and so. They became Arabized, Romanized first, were Romans, and then after that came the Ottoman Empire, Arabized, but then setting into these areas. You know what I'm saying? But predating that, the hunter-gatherers, predating that, you had a migration taking place. And seafaring migration since ancient time. It's recorded in ancient Kemet. It's recorded in the Nile Valley. It's recorded on this side. It's recorded here in the Americas. You know what I'm saying? So this is that we all, this empire, we all at one time was a part of a civilization. We're all part of this federation, the civilization, travel, and was broken up into pieces, So now when you're restructuring things, and a university is very, very important, a universe, because you're establishing a one verse, right? The multiversity is within the university. You're establishing one verse, and very, very important. Very important. We did that in Bushwick. We established the University of Truth. We took all these different truths and schools of thought, and we came together to form a University of Truth. And we had our different departments. You had the media. Man, we had our own media. We had our new news channel on cable. We had our own news channel. We had our media. We had our arts, performing arts. We had our own stage where we could perform. We had our own performing arts. We had a music department. Then we had the Hall of Knowledge, where we were taught languages, especially the Arabic language. My Arabic teacher was Suleiman Sisi from Senegal, who went to Canada. Suleiman Sisi. So we had teachers teaching us. At the same time, we had a central mosque, and we built another mosque. Again, it was establishing. We have the experience of establishing a university, which is very, very important. Now, that university it's displaced. It's all over the place. So it's time to bring them together. And I love what the Queen Imperial Majesty Kasambura is doing, the Queen of Sheba III, what she's doing, and that's a queen, that's a queendom, because she traces a lineage all the way back into Nubian Kush. There is a lineage. When you deal with kings and queens, you're dealing with a descendancy, an actual lineage. That's how you got chief in Ghana. That thing about making you a chief in Africa, you could become a chief of a community and start your chiefdom there. But that's not really how it has to be genetically tied. It's a lineage. You have to marry into that family and your child. That's how you create that kingdom and that queendom. Very interesting. You see, a lot of us displaced here in America, we have been disconnected from that right of lineages. Unless you go, you can tie in, like Panabayanun tied himself in through his father, through what? Sudan, and that kingship, which was set up by Muhammad Ahmed Mahdi, who traced it back into Muhammad. So it's an Islamic kingdom, an Islamic family dynasty that came out of that. And that dynasty came into here, and through his mother was the Idris dynasty with her great-grandfather, right? And setting into Ghana. But remember, these dynasties also traveled, and they were part of the Mali Empire. And they set out, and they sponsorship. Like, when you look at Christopher Columbus, and you look at Spain didn't build all the three ships, the Santa Maria, Niña, and Pinta. No, that was sponsored by religious organization. For instance, the Catholic Church sponsored that ship. They built that ship called the Santa Maria. That was their ship. Then you had the mulattoes, the Moors that stood behind, right? That dynasty that stood behind in Iberia Peninsula, that sponsored the Niña, a prince, princely ones, the prince. They sponsored that ship. Then the Pinta was sponsored by both. Those were the mulattoes. Those were your indentured workers on there. Your craftsmen and stuff like that was on that particular ship called La Pinta. So those three ships were sponsored by different. Same thing with the Mali Empire. All those 2,000 ships was sponsored by certain dynasties. And those dynasties came here to this side. That's where you get that lineages through our master teachers, Panabayanan's mother. That's another lineage. But you see, a lot of that stuff been cut off from us. A lot. Not all of us come from that lineage. But we were subjects to that lineage or that particular kingdom and queendom. So I applaud again Hassan Bura always, and my TFOs and the crown ministers and everyone involved with that project. the Project Phoenix 7, which I'll discuss that later. What's so interesting is that work, we see, our master teacher was on point. Panabayanan. He had a structure, he had a system, and he knew exactly which the Natarus, those forces of nature was leading us. Leading us. Sorry, my Facebook went on. 1 second. This phone, I gotta give me a much high tech phone because I'm still working with an Android here, and it's 4G. I'm a dinosaur. I'm a dinosaur. But so this conversation like this is so important. So when I see all my, when I look into these debates and I see the different, when I see the different, there you go. When I can see the different ideologies, again, philosophies, psychology and the philosophy, and even the pineal system. And when I look at to all these different groups here, you know what I'm saying? I don't only see division. I see how they divided us, but then I also see unity because I look into the bloodline. You know what I'm saying? I go into the lineage and the bloodline. You know what I'm saying? To all my Native American people out there that hold so dearly and say they have nothing to do with Africa, you're wrong. You're wrong because the whole wide world, it's just the name Africa came later on. But that continent, right? That area was called Ganawa. That continent is the cradle of all this civilization, of you also. No matter where you at, no matter, that's humanity. That's the cradle of all humanity. Cradle of all humanity. You know what I'm saying? When you look at it, I don't care where you from, Chinese, wherever you from, there's still the cradle right there. You know what I'm saying? When you start going into anthropology, paleoanthropology, and you start going to archaeology and anthropology, the proof is there. And then oral traditions, proof is there. You know? So I look at all my Native Americans and want nothing to do. Okay, in that continent, fine. But the more concern of this continent, this particular continent was part of a supercontinent, was part of a supercontinent. It moved the platonic plates, the plate tectonic moved this continent through millions of years, but it was attached to that other continent that we know as a supercontinent called Ganawa. First Pangea, and then became Ganawa, where you get the name Ghana, Ganawa. You know what I'm saying? That stood. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the lineage, going back, they're missing, omitted datum there because a lot of these Native American Chickasaw and Chickasaw, you look at their features and phenotype and you see that there was amalgamated, not because of slavery. Prior to that, there was an amalgamation. Look at their script. Linguistic tells it all and agriculture tells it all. There was a amalgamation with Africans, or what we know as Africa today, the different tribe of Bambara, Wolo, Banbara, Fulani, Indris dynasty, all these dynasties coming here and tribes were here, came here, and mixed in, amalgamated with these native Inca and this native Maya, native Toltec, mixed, amalgamated, and it's been happening for eons, thousands of years, this migration, thousands of years. Even the organisms, you know what I'm saying? So in creating, again, at the cradle of it all, in creating this multi-university, right? This pyramid structure, this multi-university, it's, where is that? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's, again, this civilization that we know in the past has changed. The fourth industrial revolution is bringing in another civilization. It's revealing that. And this civilization now, it's taking another turn. You know what I'm saying? Civilization rises, civilization falls. So that's just it. You know? There were dynasties that were ahead of a certain civilization that lasted 10,000 years. Some civilization lasts longer, some last 10,000 years. So there was a civilization that came out of Kemet and Babylonia with the Ptolemy. There was a civilization that came out of that, Babylonia, and then to the Greek. These were families, dynasties that got together and formed a state, a federation state. And those four federation states formed a civilization. And it spread out down to the Romans, and then it fractured itself and became the European nations and other nations. Canada, it just spread out, especially in Europe and Germany. That it was part of it. There were families, what they call houses of Harrisburg, houses of, right? This is the house of Sheba. We're talking about it in Africa. And it extends, its arms extends to a lot of these other houses too. But the house of Sheba now is getting stronger. Or the house of Sabah, those seven lineages that came out of Cush. That's their civilization now that's thriving. That's what it speaks about in Revelations. Those seven kingdoms, what they call the seven churches, but those are seven kingdoms that came out of there. They had a certain philosophy. And that's a kingdom, and that comes, Saba means seven. Also means star, Sirius star, right? You can link this all back. And so we're here in the West, apart. We are what they call Region 6. We're part of this parliament, part of this queendom, this dome that exists, genetically lineage, and that exists in that continent of Africa. We're part of it. We're known as Africa Diaspora, Region 6. And so now we have to do what? We have to do the work as to make sure that we are ahead of the curve. And a lot of it has to do with the fourth industrial revolution too, and learning how to use that in conjunction with natural nature. So there's some great things happening right now. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, a lot of us may not see the outcome and the future of it, but our children are. And you give them a better chance of establishing themselves in the future, okay? And being balanced with that metaverse, with the actual verse, the biological verse, the actual natural nature. So they have to learn natural nature science. And then they also, at the same time, they're learning other sciences. You know what I'm saying? Which is part of us, just as humanity, as growing. We're growing. We just can't lose control. Can't lose control and get to a point and have antisociable people again manipulating these industries and technology, manipulating to facilitate or to create more suppressive environment. Creating suppressive environments. They're not letting the states, they're not letting dynasty states and empire within the states and the civilization, different empire, they're not letting them thrive. Because they're initiating certain genetic engineering, which is not, I mean, if it's meant to be, it's gonna, if you need it, you need it. Genetic engineering goes way back into ancient time. It's nothing new at all. Genetic engineering, our ancestors, that's old science. But it's just in the hands of antisociable people, it becomes detrimental, it becomes a danger that in the hands of antisociable people. And that's 20% of humanity is like that. They're antisociable. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm just laying it out for you. This was the Monday summit, you know what I'm saying? And what was so interesting about it was and I was having flashback. I was like, yo, wait a minute. So more and more I see how Panabayanan and this man they call Dr. how important and how ahead of everybody this man was. Ahead. And also other brothers that I had. Shout out to Haram Heb, my brother Jamal Haram Heb out there. I wish you were well. I know that you're doing well out there. There's another one. There's many other doing the work. And they're very ahead of in humanity. They're foreseeing things. You know what I'm saying? They're moving like that. You know what I'm saying? Very special. Anyway, that was the Monday summit. You know what I'm saying? And look out for the podcast that hopefully I'll be able to get on and to have a bill with Amenuma about, against civilizations, kingdoms, and federations and stats, sovereign states, moving a state. All these things are conversations that right now is important because we're having a new civilization. You see, and the narrative, the plan is, again, if you look at the biblical text, is that the bomb, that the draconians or the dragon race, or they're going to be put into the bottomless pit, but they're going to come up to rise, and for 1,000 years, they're giving 1,000 years extra to rule, but they're going to rule very viciously. You know what I'm saying? That's just a plan that they want to do, and they want to rule everything through the fourth industrial revolution. They want to rule everything with that. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's to create that world, that metaverse, and create that world. And what's going to happen is the planet, we're going to lose a lot of fertile soil. We're going to lose a lot in the planet. But then there are those that are fighting against that, and not only fighting or doing what they have to do because they're sociable beings, and they're looking for the benefits of humanity. They're looking for the benefits of natural nature, and they're conducting their life. They're conducting their civilization. They springboarding a civilization that's going to be balanced in that sense. You know what I'm saying? Balance. We're using renewable fuel, renewable sources, you know what I'm saying? Fossil, renewable sources, solar energy, wind energy, all of that is coming to play, but the technology has, is being developed. You know what I'm saying? Develop. You got the Venus project. Again, this Phoenix 7 project, I'm going to one day bring it up and we're going to discuss that, impact that is very important. It's what is being done right there in the African nation, in Africa with all the 55 nations out there. This is what's going on with the queendom. You know what I'm saying? And so that was very interesting, very interesting. And I said, Panabel Yananin, our master teacher, was ahead of the curve. He was establishing certain things that now we're beginning to see this establishing at a civilization and African Union. Remember, he tied us back to Liberia. And Liberia, it's in this African Union. It's part of it. And Liberia have representatives also in the parliament, in the queendom of Imperial Majesty Kwasambunra. In that queendom, Liberia have representatives, many different representatives from different countries. I'm definitely want to be a representative. I'll check them out. Lucky Iron ORN. Okay. Alkaline water. Yes. Yep. So all the, here in the States, we have to definitely evaluate ourselves and look how are we gonna fit, how are we gonna move from here. I mean, there's great work doing, and I understand it. There's brothers out there that have states, and what I'm saying, and move in a certain way, because there was an empire, not an empire, there was a kingdom that also stretched into the Americas, and that's what the Moors speak about. Noble Drew Ali was, like they say, the fifth Marquis, and he was, you know, from the French paradigm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of French involvement in that. But there's talk about that. You got setting up a state in the Moorish state and whatever. Because when you look at Moorish state or Moor or black, that yeah, nice. When you deal with these states, I lost my thought over here. I definitely need that alkaline water. Well, when you look at a lot of these what's happening here in America, and like the political system was set up, government here was set up by our ancestors here. Those what they were called Moors, Millennium Moors. Those, by that terminology, they call them Moors, but they were the Millennium Empire, and you had different dynasties that came here. They set up a political system because they had. Remember, when you have an empire and you want to send the best of the best, and they want to create trade centers here, and they want to create the best of the best, so they had those who were bloodlines of those that were setting up political systems here. So there was a political system set up, and they set up the Aracos Federation. And from there, they spread out the Aracos Federation. You know what I'm saying? And then this United States adopted the original Constitution and adopted a lot of its principles, morals, and code from the Aracos Federation. An Aracos Federation involved a federation. Again, many nations, kingdoms, and dynasties coming together and ruling on the Aracos, and they had a council, like a Congress that was set up. That's when you look at the original Constitutional Congress, you see a lot of Moors sitting in them seats. A lot of Moors. And they're general, and they made generals like Washington. He had to be inducted into the Masonic school because they also dealt with Freemasonry. In ancient time, it was known as just simply Masonry, government operations. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm gonna leave it at there. The pop stop. I'm gonna check out the brother who owns Alkaline Water Live, Alkaline Water, Robert McCrae. I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna check out Robert McCrae and the Alkaline Water. Thank you very much, Lucky Orion. Thank you very much for that information. You know what I'm saying? We all got to help each other out. I alkaline myself. One of the top alkaline is the bicarbonated carbon, bicarbonated. So I use carbonato sometimes, and I eat and I take that I put it in my water, and it alkalines it with some lemon, or I put it in my smoothie, and it gives you that carbonate soda taste. You know what I'm saying? The carbonated bicarbonate water. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been helping me out a lot. But yes, definitely alkaline water is the way to go. You know what I'm saying? Alkaline water is the way to go. I thank you very much for that information. But again, the summit is spectacular like always. I enjoy being every Monday of knowing what's happening in the continent of Africa, and my brothers and sisters getting together from, I speak to hear people from South Africa, people from Mali, people from Ghana, people from Nigeria and everything. The French, I got to learn French because a lot of them out there in the Congo is speaking French. You know what I'm saying? I don't speak French. Even though I have my mother have a French last name, Pachot. When I did my lineages go all the way back into Haiti, and from Haiti to Mali, Congo, and Benin. Those are the three most ones that I have in my genetics. It's Mali, mostly Mali, percentage of Congo and a percentage of Benin, that area right there. And then some Taino, and I got a lot of Iberian Peninsula, also Berber, Iberian Peninsula, the Berbers that went out there because that's also part of it. So that comes from my father's side. You know what I'm saying? So when you trace everything back and you look at a shout out, and then when if you look at the story of Haiti and the story of Cuba, Cubayana, and the story of Quisquilla and Haiti Bola, you know what I'm saying? And you look at it and Borinquen, you're finding an ancient. You see, they don't want to say this. Even in the Bermuda Triangle and the Bahamas, they found those tooth, and they're saying that they cannot determine where these genetics, and they found a lot of people in the island of Borinquen, which is in Puerto Rico, have this genetic. They don't know where it's coming from. They don't want to say where it's coming from. They don't want to say where this genetic DNA is coming from. And I strongly am leaning more towards that this genetics come from the continent of Africa, and this genetics is come from the Mali Empire of a tribes that came in here, Bambara tribe, because they were liberators. And I believe they were liberators. Because if you look at the history of island of Borinquen, man, we're into a lot of liberation. What? You know what I'm saying? Again, I made I let everybody know that we're so crazy. Let me tell you, we put the flag up on the Statue of Liberty. No other flag has ever flown like that in the Statue of Liberty with the FALN. Also, we changed the free lunch program here with the Young Lords. Also, and not that I condone this, but fighting for the liberation of the immigrants and the farm worker rights, they shot up Congress. We're crazy like that. We're crazy. We're liberators. And that's why I think why Panabaya home when he was Liberia and he had the flag of Puerto Rico. And I said, like, interesting. He knows what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Liberation. Because there's this genetics in us that we're not complicit to think it's about again, balance, liberating. Nature, we're balanced. I have to be balanced. And it stretches out also into the my other brothers and sisters, Trinidad and Quisquilla. Great work Santo Domingo have done here in New York. Great work this Dominican. Everything is, everybody look at Dominicans as being this and that and that. But let me tell you, there's a lot of social Dominicans out there. A lot of them. They're doing great work out there. Abisu Campos spent his time in Haiti and Santo Domingo a lot. Abisu Campos used to travel a lot to that island, because he was studying a lot of things. Also, Cuba, liberators, man. Same thing. This genetic that we have, because we're boastful like that. You know what I'm saying? We're boastful like that. And then when you see and going into the Ansarullah and going into Tamare, going into Sabiq too, you know what I'm saying? Very, very important. Very important that right now we are investigating and invest. You see that? When you investigate, you invest in something, and investigating into the language of Sabiq language is one of the oldest glyphs found in the Nile Valley. And through the Nile, Sudan, into southern Arabia, into Yemen, into Iraq and Iran, into the Samaria area, the Babylonian, that area. One of the oldest scripts. And we're studying that script. And it's part of, and was very much coming from Sudan. The cradle, Ma Federation. So that language is very, very, very important to us. You know what I'm saying? And learning that, and it has activated a lot within myself. You know what I'm saying? A lot. Wow, he's got 1,000 acres in I gotta get together with this brother, Robert McCray. He got that land right there. We'll see what he's doing. Very nice, very nice. It's a lot of good things happening out here. You know what I'm saying? So as far as being part of the civilization is very important. We can build something great for our legacy. It's legacy. We can build a great legacy here. You know what I'm saying? We can build a great legacy. Everything don't have, you know what I'm saying? We're being bombarded by so much anti-sociable narrative, suppressive narrative. It's ridiculous, and we have to get out of that. So there's building going on, okay? Civilizations, building a civilization, building your state, building your nation. Man, build it. There's people that were here first. You know what I'm saying? And we amalgamated with Native Americans. We're all the same people. I don't get it. This is humanity. But you see, divide and conquer. When you arm the youth with the truth knowledge, they can't be conquered and enslaved. So I refuse to be conquered and enslaved again. You know what I'm saying? I refuse that. So I have to arm myself with the right knowledge, and stop, sometimes even if you like, for instance, if you go to a college and you're being taught a certain thing, that's what you're being taught. It doesn't mean you can't go outside of it and find other knowledge outside of what you're being taught, because that's education. That's edited, right? They edited, dictating to you an edited version. But you can go outside of that. I've done it. When I was a student at NYU, I went outside and I was reading a lot of Ansala publication, going back, and I excelled. So this is, again, if you find yourself in college, university, your professor, whatever you are, whatever you're studying, when you go outside of that particular, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes people don't want to do that because they figure you don't have to teach a class, or you don't have to, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to be so anti-sociable about it, you know what I'm saying? But you could bring certain narratives, certain things to the table and expand. It's all about expanding, right? Papaut, expanding, papaut, expansion. It's all about that. Papaut, shook. Expanding your divine caring for something and nurturing, and that comes by you arming yourself again with the truth, all the pieces fitting perfectly together. And yes, Lucky Orion, we are one. But the one, if you look at it, some people use mathematical and the angle and stuff. The people that work the angles got to be careful, because they split that one wholeness and split into fractions. Now they got a quarter of this, quarter of that, a half of this, a third of that. You know what I'm saying? They fractalize themselves. They contract themselves and fractalize themselves, but they don't see the whole picture. So we are the whole, not the one. The one has a minus one. We are the whole. In the center, you have minus one, plus one. In that center, you got the absolute. That's us. That's how we're expanding. In Arabic, they call that ikhlas, purified one. We're expanding that, okay? The center, Quabat, the center. We say al-Qubt is the center. Quabat, the center. And that is who we are. Everything revolves around us. Everything involved. We have to get back and solidify our center, and to see how everything moves around us, and the different narratives and the fractalized narrative that's out there that we're learning in college. We're learning that in certain groups are teaching these fractalized, but they're not looking at the whole. They're not looking at the center of it. The origin of it. The origin starts with a no. The origin of it. The center, the quabat of it, they're not looking at that. That's what our master partner Bayanan helped us to centerize our thoughts and head back to the center. And that's what nature also teaches that. The origin of something. To know the nature of something, you got to know its origin. You got to know the center of it, and so that it extends it all. So you have to know the center of your gut. Right? Your solar plexus, the center of that. Right? and where that comes from, right? And how it extends to the umbilical cord, to the placenta, the mother. Ma, the mother, the womb is the center. The womb, right? That's the Quabat, the womb, the Raman, or Rahman, the Yuder, Raman Quabat, womb, the center, Pa Quabat is Kawum Raman. You know, we got to get back to that. And that's what you deal with the Ma Federation. Mandala, Ma, Mandala. You know what I'm saying? Very, very important. You know, that's where I'm coming from. You know what I'm saying? We got to get back to the center. So it's okay if you go to college, university, whatever, and you take in those dictations, those edit dictation, this education and edit dictation. That's fine. But when you're able to step outside of that, now you get outformation. It's not information. It's not in, but now it's outformation. But that's helping you also grow. You're looking on the, you know what I'm saying? You're taking that perspective from the outside. Like I had discussions with my brothers of mine, said like, hey, listen, fracture. It's not only the rhythm from Congo, it's the rhythm from Mali, it's the rhythm from Ghana, it's a rhythm from that particular area that birthed with the rhythm we have today. You got to look at the whole picture. That's all I'm doing. The whole picture. Genetically, the same thing. Some of us have bloodline. You know, if you look at it, the majority of our people here have Mali DNA. But that's only separating too, because it wasn't only about Mali, Congo, Benin. It's not only about that. It's about a genetic that goes back into the Ma Federation. And they have DNA. Sorry. Salud, mi hermano, Bando, Floyd, what's going on, papi? Peace and blessings. If with the studies today with archaeology and studying the Twa people and the San people and the Khoisan people, because the San people and the Khoi came together, became the Khoisan people, and studying their genetics, right? Right? And they're going back, they're finding out that this is genetics that extends everywhere from that crate. And if they go back into these old bones, that they're finding this fauna and these fossil bones and these human bones, right? In archaeology and right? And then they go into anthropology and chemistry, and they're looking at it and they're doing the testing and they're looking at it. Then when they go into the DNA, they say, oh, wait a minute. There's something going on here. So they're able to trace the sequences. But you shouldn't rely too much on that, to be honest with you, because mutation happens. You see? Mutation takes place. But then when you, like a polypath, when you look at archaeology, anthropology, linguistics, you look at the DNA data, that's science, you look at the science of agriculture, you look at all these different sciences, even to the down to philosophy and psychology, and you look at the systems of the penal systems, and you go back to its origin, you trace all of this back, it could be traced to the mind, to the womb of civilization, the womb of humanity. And that's the Ma. Right? Ma. We know this. It's genetically innate in us. Yep. It's genetically in us. You can't stop it. You know what I'm saying? It's genetically in us. Until they start building clones and stuff. And no more womb. Everything is a test tube. There's test tube babies. And things like that. Anyway, I thank everybody. We can do this more and more by just changing our narrative. Our narrative And whenever something ain't right, hey, don't be afraid to speak out and say, yo, wait a minute. Look at this. This ain't right. I have not yet to have anybody challenge me on the presentation I did on the brother Sarnetta. No one. And I brought information there, physical information, because I have gone to see certain statues in New York City that are hidden, are right there, also in front of your face, but are hidden. I have been to, certain libraries, you know what I'm saying, and seeing the documents myself. You know what I'm saying? So the presentation I did was to bring, hey, listen, this is in the internet. What's going on here? This is in the internet. So again, it challenged the edit dictations that's out there. The education is the edit dictations that's out there. It's edited. When you go to school, those books you read, it's edited. There's an editor that has to edit the book and certain information is taken out. I want the raw copy. I want the raw copy. You know what I'm saying? And then I want to go and find, with the clues, I want to go find it out for myself. And that's what I've done. And I just simply use the internet. You know what I'm saying? But I've gone deep and deep and deep into certain narratives. And then not only that, but what I experienced and what I saw. What I experienced and what I saw. These statues. I could touch these statues and say, wow, really? And these statues are molded in the in the late 1800s. It's old statues that I have touched and seen and like, yo, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? But we can do it, man. And in terms of we have to constantly stay aboard on this. You know what I'm saying? And so I have not yet, anybody had not challenged me on that information. They don't want to. You know what I'm saying? And also the information that I brought out with my brother Latin Pain. No one. You know what I'm saying? About the fourth industrial revolution, stuff like that. No one. Hey, Silos, you're wrong. Look, you have to do this, and this, and that. No one. Because I this one thing that I live by. And that's the touchstone of positivity. I said, how is this information, or how is this dictation of information that you're putting out is going to benefit us as humanity and our legacy, our youth? How is it going to benefit them? How is by constantly pushing the slave narrative, not to say that it did not exist, because it definitely did exist, but how is pushing only that narrative and not looking into the other narratives? How is that beneficial for your children? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to say, yo, your ancestors created this political system, this government? Yes, it's just been hijacked. Your ancestors is the origin of all this, all these institutions and these schoolings and these universities, and these pyramids, university, and these complex structures in society are structured by our ancestors. Shout out to the ancestors. It's structured by them. And when you become rooted in that, and you get to see things, you become rooted on it. Rooted, you become stronger. Your light goes on. Boom, you become a shining light. You know what I'm saying? And these children are shining lights, and they know. And I heard conversations and brothers telling me, "Oh, my sons, they said this and they did this and said this." I said, "Amazing, amazing! Wow, I love it. I love it." Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here, so let's go forward, y'all. And thank you all for for supporting those who support. That is my Cash App right there. See, that's my Cash App right there. So if you can support, this is my PayPal's right here in the bottom. PayPal. Again, my Cash App $ CLOS 1211 for free will offering. So donate. Okay. And with that, I will leave you and enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. All in blessings to you.